traveling on a budget can make us happier. How is it possible? Watch this. I came in Da Nang to MC a big event for an international company. I was in a 5-star resort, the event was on a beach, living conditions were amazing, people were great, but something was missing. I knew that at the end of this amazing experience, I wanted to go for adventures. I wanted to discover this amazing part of Vietnam. And that's why
These are the 7 reasons why
you
should visit Miền Trung.
middle of Vietnam, central Vietnam. Yeah. When talking about Vietnam, generally we divide Vietnam in 4 major regions: Miền Tây, Miền Nam, Miền Bắc, and Miền Trung, where I am right now. Central Vietnam is composed of 3 major cities, which are Da Nang, Hue, and Hội An, which are very, very different from each other, even though they're actually very close in distance. Da Nang is actually the 3rd biggest city in Vietnam after Saigon and Hanoi. It's very vibrant, there's a lot of new constructions, new projects going on. It's a beach city, it's a city that is also very clean, and I would say also very modern with a rich cuisine. Hue, by position, is actually more a historical city with a lot of historical sites. It's also used to be the old capital before it was Hội An, because that's where the emperor was living, that's where politics were coming from. And Hội An is a small, very adorable city. Personally, it's like my crush, you know? It's very famous for their handcraft, for being the capital of tailor-made from Vietnam, and of course, lanterns. So coming to Miền Trung gives you an opportunity to visit these 3 very different places in Vietnam. But actually for me, it's an opportunity to get out of my comfort zone. What I like about this part of Vietnam is that it's actually very convenient to travel there. Indeed, I landed in Da Nang airport and the city was only 15-minute drive from the airport, which, as you know, is not the case like in Hanoi, in Nha Trang, or in Saigon. The thing about Miền Trung is that Da Nang and Hue are quite close. It's only a 2.5-hour drive. That's our bike, by the way. So we are ready to go. I'm not a big fan to travel by bike because I think it's dusty, not always safe. I'm always afraid that the roads are going to be crowded or there's going to be a lot of people or police. I don't know. I'm always a bit paranoid. So despite my fears and my paranoia, I decided to travel by bike. And you know what? It was amazing. The roads were clear, the landscapes were great, there were enough coffee shops, enough possibility to stop on the way, and the 2.5 hours went great. And actually, even though I was just a passenger, right? But it just gives you such a feeling of achievement when you do something that at first you're not comfortable. Of course, I'm not encouraging you like to force yourself, but just push a little bit the limits when it comes to the travel, because not only it's saving money, if travel by bike, but also you have this kind of freedom of seeing these hidden gems, of seeing these landscapes, of a feeling of adventure. Let's talk about the food. This trip, I actually made major discoveries. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that the cuisine here is delicious. It's very various. It's very rich. It's just so flavorful that I don't have enough vocabulary to explain to you. But the important thing that I discovered about Vietnamese cuisine, about myself, is that I actually love all Vietnamese dishes, but not all their variations. For example, the central Vietnam is actually the home of bún bò Huế in the city of Hue, obviously. And I used to think that I don't like this dish because it's too meaty, it's too rich, like it's just not my type of soup. But I was so wrong. When you come to the place where it's this specialty, you discover how amazingly talented people are when it comes to food. And another major discovery that I made is that actually Vietnamese food is adapted to the Vietnamese weather. In the past 7 days, I was just eating Vietnamese food. The only time I ate foreign food, I felt so heavy. That's when I realized that our foreign food, French food, Russian food, Italian food, whatever food is yours, is adapted to your country, to your living conditions. It just after this trip, I really realized that do like the Romans do. Like in Romans, do like Romans. I know it's the expression, but basically the more you adapt to the local customs, especially through food, the more you start to be in harmony with the place, with the weather, and therefore you have enough like strength and energy to keep going. So guys, make sure to try food here. What I like about central Vietnam is the diversity of places you can visit here.
The thing I like about Hue is all the numerous historical sites that you can visit and their variety.
Yes, sightseeing is actually my favorite part of this trip. When it comes to Hue, I discovered that here there is a lot of pagodas. It's actually the city that has the largest numbers of pagoda in whole Vietnam. It's also, like I said, used to be the old capital, and it's the homeland of the monk, of the literature figure, of the writer, philosopher Thích Nhất Hạnh. What I like about Hue is the opportunity to go visit the Imperial Palace, yes, but my favorite part was to be able to go between history and new places, because indeed Hue has the tomb of the Emperor Khai Dinh, which is extremely beautiful. It's at the same time delicate, I would say, and also very strong with the influence of the Chinese architecture. But only few minutes driving from there, you discover this abandoned water park.
So this used to be a water park,
Which personally was my big discovery of the trip. You kind of feel like kind of Game of Thrones vibes, you know? And yeah, so I really enjoyed this like difference of moods in the sightseeing. Of course, when you come to Da Nang, you cannot not go to see Lady Buddha. That's a must. Or like driving on the Dragon Bridge, just like driving on the large, big streets. And of course, Hoi An is always adorable, especially at night when you see the lanterns, you start to see the little boats. But to be honest, that was not my favorite part. My favorite part was really to drive to this abandoned park, which had the feeling of something, I won't say forbidden, but something that has a different vibe, different history, and to be able to discover it. By the way, a little disclaimer, I'm personally a big fan of local sightseeing, like local people, when it comes to local people, religion, culture, food. And I know Da Nang is also famous for the Bana Hills, right? I don't advise to go because first, it's quite far from the city. It's also kind of costly. If I remember well, the ticket is $100. Can you put here? And it's just, it's not Vietnam. Like I think as a foreigner, especially when you want to travel in Vietnam, you want to see what Vietnamese people see. You want to try to understand the culture, the way of thinking, the religious practice, marble mountains in Da Nang. These kind of adventures make me feel like Indiana Jones. Sightseeing just make you discover so many different things and make you connect with the local culture and just like expand your own just expand yourself thanks to this travel, especially like I said, being on a budget. All the different places that I mentioned, the maximum ticket price was $6 for the Khai Dinh Tomb, so it's very affordable, but it's very rich. I discovered the best dive bar on planet Earth, and it's in Vietnam. It's called Brown Eyes, and it has the best cocktails, the best music, the best service, but above all, it's the ambiance. Really, it's really startled me to see that you technically don't need anything, to have fun. You technically don't need even to drink, right? But like to go in such an affordable place and have great service, great care, music, to be able to dance and to have fun. It's just a good reminder that money cannot buy everything. And actually I remember this one time in Saigon when I went to this very fancy 5-star hotel for a drink. The drink was like a juice. The ambiance was okay. It was hot. It was just there. Whereas like here, the drinks are very, very, very cheap actually, but you feel the energy from the people. For me, the major thing about nightlife here in Miền Trung is the kindness, is the dedication, I would say, to people in their work and how much fun they have doing their work. So I highly recommend you to go and try for yourself brown ice. So what do I mean exactly by affordable? By affordable, I mean that your plane ticket to go to central Vietnam will cost about $100 if coming from Saigon. The price of an hotel can go from $10 to $15. Renting a bike is about $7 a day. A meal can start even with $2 to $5 per person. And I mean like a good meal. Coffee is half price than in Saigon, so that's really ridiculous and amazing. When we talk about traveling on a budget, according to me, the major positive point is this feeling of freedom, is this feeling of being here and now, of connecting with your environment, connecting with the people, trying different foods, feeling just free like the wind and not having any attachment. Because I notice if I travel in a beautiful hotel, in a beautiful resort, of course I want to enjoy that place, right? You want to be there, you want to take the pictures, you want to make memories there. But whereas when you have like a small, like normal room like this one, it's comfy, but it's also push you to go outside to see, okay, what is there more for me to see? What can I discover? And simply the pleasure of walking on the beach, going to swim and not being in this like, I would call the little golden world of like 5-star resorts. When you travel, give you, just make you happy, you know? Like we say in Russia, we have a quote, be simple, people will like you. But I also believe when you are being simple and when you enjoy what you have and you don't focus on what you don't have, you actually become very rich. That's when you become really happy and at peace and just simply grateful. Like at the end of this trip, I just feel very grateful to be able to talk about this with you, to witness this, to taste this, and just be there, because we only have one life. So better live it at the fullest, right? In Vietnamese language, there is one quote that I really like. Một chạm nghe không bằng một lần thấy, meaning that you have to come and see it for yourself. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Mwah!